Hello and welcome to this brand new series of the Harun Rabbani podcast. So here's a question for you. How's your gut? How's your gut health? It's important. What do I mean it's important? Because everything is about the gut. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But before we start, if you're a regular listener, I am co-hosting the show with Dr. Ashish Paul, who is an expert in helping particularly women with their fertility using very bespoke treatments. And she's a doctor, so she knows her stuff. And so welcome to this first co-hosting episode with me, Ashish.
Good evening, Harun, and good evening to everybody who's watching now or maybe watching on replay. It feels fabulous. We have done a couple of two or three lives on Instagram as well. So yes, we are going to be discussing and talking about gut health, and also a little bit gut health, how natural medicine fits into that.
Right. Okay. So this is, I talk about the hidden truth. We're talking about the hidden truth that your doctors won't tell you about. Now, why do, and it's not an attack on doctors because I have a lot of friends who are doctors. Sounds
Yeah.
very weird. But yeah, I've got a lot of friends who are doctors and clients actually. So when we talk about doctors, we talk about conventional medicine doctors. So why is it a challenge in terms of the knowledge, or why don't medical doctors tell people about gut health?
Medical doctors, I'm not sure how much they know about gut health in particular themselves, especially. And again, like you said, this is not an it's not about them and us. It's not about doctors being less or more. We are just talking about the issues that patients face
Mm,
and how we can make it better for them. So
mm,
that's where we are coming from, educational point of view. So gut health, what they're talking about is mainly when they see any symptoms, whereas what we are talking about is how can you always optimize your health. Yeah,
mm,
certain symptoms which you see people presenting with, they are not necessarily symptoms which are natural. They have become normal because they are everywhere. Like bloating is everywhere,
mm,
everybody has bloating. But for 99% of the time it is not natural, and it depends on your gut. So that's what we want to talk about, what is actually normal and what is natural, and how people can know and optimize their gut. So doctors um, don't have this holistic view. They only have a view which is very symptomatic. So if you have a symptom, they treat it with whatever medicines they prescribe.
and it's to do with the training, of course, the training, and I think it's very important to embrace, and if you're in modern society, you have to anyway embrace traditional allopathic medical doctors, and their job, in essence, is to look at the symptoms and try to fix it, either usually by the medication or by surgery. They're the two methods. So, in other words, you've got a problem. Say, if you have an accident, for example, you break a leg, you want to see an allopathic doctor, you want to go into an x-ray department and get yourself fixed. You don't want homeopathy in that moment in time because it may
Yeah.
not be as effective.
Yes.
So that's very important. But the other thing is, I worked with medical doctors, particularly endoscopists and gastroenterologists, for about 5 years, and another 3 years with ENT surgeons. And here's what I found. When I worked particularly in endoscopy, I found that and it was shocking to me, the vast majority of people who were coming from endoscopies, it was all to do with gut related issues. And in
Yeah.
fact, the numbers of diseases that are influenced or affected by the gut is phenomenal. So, in your opinion, Ashish, how many diseases, what number of diseases are affected by gut health, poor gut health?
Remember, we were looking at that list, and it's like everything is related to gut health.
Yeah.
Um, the clearly obvious ones are the ones which in and around abdomen, right? So if you have any abdominal pain, if you have any diarrhea, if you have any constipation, if you have any um, uh, cramps, or if you have any bloating, these are the common ones which people can relate to, that this is they can commonly see. However, we know specifically from natural medicine, as you and I discuss all the time, is that natural medicine talks about, I have lost my thought completely.
That's okay. So natural medicine talks about.
Yeah, so I was talking about, other things that are related to gut. So natural medicine, Ayurvedic medicine talks about every disease starts from your gut.
Right.
Every single disease, because we are made from what we eat. What we eat, what we can digest, and what actually we can absorb and assimilate. Yeah, not just only what we can eat. If your gut is compromised, if you have leaky gut, you will not be able to assimilate and absorb the nutrients. Yeah. So every single disease, and now we have proof of autism, dementia, skin health, fertility. Um, it seems every single disease now is coming back to it, and immunity. Most of the immune complexes are made in the gut.
Well, exactly, and this is an interesting thing that a lot of people aren't aware of. That 70% of your immunity is actually in your gut biome. So the gut biome is the bacteria, the microbes, starting from this end of the alimentary canal and to
To
the
the other.
opposite end of the alimentary canal as well.
Yeah.
There's a massive part of it which is in the colon, which people aren't aware of, and so there's so many angles we could talk about. Like, say, for example, you mentioned about food and what you put into your
Yeah.
mouth. So, for example, if people are putting into their mouth sugary foods, refined sugars, you just think about this for a second. If you were to take all your blood, like a vampire, you suck out all your blood, and that's about 5 liters of blood on the average person.
Yeah.
Out of 5 liters, there is approximately 1 teaspoon of sugar. 1 teaspoon of sugar. That's crazy. In five, this is normal, healthy blood. As soon as you put a teaspoon of sugar into your tea, you just double. Well, it doesn't necessarily get all absorbed, but a large proportion will be. You just double the amount. And of course, with type 2 diabetes, not just type 2 diabetes, but if, say, for example, you keep pumping your system with sugar, then your pancreas gets overactive, overactive, your cells say, whoa, no more sugar, please, I've had plenty. That leads to insulin resistance. Now, here's the thing about insulin resistance, that you don't just get pre-diabetes and diabetes, you've got heart disease, you've got a chance of stroke, cancer,
Yeah.
Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, Alzheimer's and dementia, you don't even know. It doesn't get diagnosed
Yeah.
until it's too late.
Absolutely.
So we talk about food, and I don't want to. We'll talk about food maybe in another episode in a lot more detail.
Yeah.
But let's talk beside the gut biome. Um, what do people need to be aware of about their guts? I mean, this is just foundational training, guys. If you're just watching for the first time this episode, this is the beginning of a lot more to share with you. So what do they need to be aware of about their gut health that might help them to be able to take their health back into their own hands?
Wow. Okay. This is a few simple basic things, especially coming from natural medicine perspective, holistic medicine perspective. Now functional medicine is talking about the same thing. Is to, one, that we know sugar is the main inflammatory molecule, main inflammatory food that we eat. It's not even food, especially the refined sugar. Even the natural sugars, when you take in high quantity, it still gives you the same effect. Yeah, only because it's natural doesn't mean you can keep taking it in bigger quantity. So every single disease comes from inflammation of some kind, and that inflammation gets fueled by the sugar. I think sugar is one of the biggest culprits we have in the modern post-industrial world that we live in, and it's in every food, hidden and obvious. Yeah. So the quality of the food that you eat, that's first. Second is the timing of the food is crucial for your gut health. What time do you eat food? Yeah. And Ayurveda says even at the wrong time, you can still eat stones and digest it, but at the right time. But if the timing is wrong, for example, you can have the best organic food, best exotic food, and nutritious food, but you're eating it at 10 o'clock at night, it's a waste. Yeah, your body is not in the right, that there are no right juices to absorb that. We also know that after 2:30, 3 o'clock, the digestive juices reduce in our gut, because it's in the first half of the day. Our body works with the solar cycle. The sun goes up, we produces all the chemicals, because that's when we are out and about collecting food and running. This is how we have lived, like hunter-gatherers, for I don't know how. Now, what we are living right now is not even 0.1% of how we have lived as human beings, right? So this is very new phenomenon, what we are doing. And for that, all these simple basic things is about non-processed food, less sugary food, or no sugar rather, for a person like me who never has sugar in the house, because I don't put sugar in anything. Then to eat at the right combination, to make sure that your digestion is good, you're not constipated, and also to put in, the way you cook your food is very, very important. The utensils you cook your food in, yeah. Also the heat that you cook your food on. So electric heat is different to the gas heat.
Right.
Yeah. And that has the difference in that. For example, I don't use microwave. I don't recommend microwave to anyone, because the heat that it uses, the microwaves, has detrimental effect on our food. It's just a different kind of food.
It was interesting. I interviewed Dr. Elizabeth Sartoris probably over 10 years ago. She's one of the, I don't even know if she's alive. Sorry, Elizabeth, if you are. Not sorry, happy that you're alive, Elizabeth, if you are. And if you're not, hello. And she's one of the, at the time, one of the leading evolutionary biologists. And I asked her about that specific questions. What's wrong with eating microwave food? Now, before I say this, by the way, only last week, I was in the sauna, and that's a different topic altogether. And I always chat to whoever's in the sauna, because everyone's always like stressed and half naked. And this guy, he's in training with Virgin Media, and he's an engineer for the mast. And I asked him, so are radio frequencies, are they any good for you? He said, no radio frequency is good for you. And these guys are highly, highly trained. So anyway, back to Elizabeth Sartoris. Here's what she said. When you put food into a microwave and then you pop it back into your mouth, the communication, the message your body gets is you are in the first stages of cancer. You are in the early stages of cancer. And so the body starts acting it out. Now, I don't know what research has been done in that field, but I 100% agree. So microwaves, people talk about, if they understand what we're going to share and what we know, they will realize that saving that 5-10 minutes of time is absolutely not worth it. It is so detrimental to your health. So sorry, carry on. You're on a roll, and I interrupted. Yeah, but
no, you are right. And I did a little bit of research when I stopped microwave, which was before I was pregnant with twins. And so they've never even seen a microwave. They were asking me one day, Mommy, do we have a microwave? And because they've never seen one. So I have done some research, and microwaves were originally actually designed for warfare. That's what they were designed for in Russia originally. Please don't quote me on that, but that was my research at that time, 15 years ago. And the way it works is it destroys the food molecules. So the structure of the molecular structure of that food changes. So when we eat that food, our body does not recognize that food. And that is why, yes, a lot of cancers are being linked to food that is microwaved food. And of course, microwaves are, as the doctor you're mentioning, she mentioned, not good for the body. So that is, these are the few things that I was mentioning. So it is not only and also the cooking oil that you use. Okay.
Yeah.
So cooking oil is so crucial because I'm a Indian Punjabi. I like my samosas, but I don't want it to be cooked in bad oil.
Mm.
And most of the foods, that the oils that you see, they're refined oils. What people
Yeah.
don't realize is refined oil is not good for your body. You need virgin oil, you need cold pressed oil, and certain oils which are good for your system. But then they are expensive. You know?
Yes. Yeah. I think a good rule of thumb is avoid vegetable seed oils like corn oil. But am I correct in saying that oils such as coconut oil, of course, the
Mm,
virgin cold pressed
yeah.
ones, you want to get that. You don't go cheap on that. It's not worth it. Seriously, isn't worth it. I
No.
deal with people, although most of my work is with people with type 2 diabetes, I also, as a direct correlation to type 2 diabetes, is cancer.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. It's not even worth the hassle of it. So coconut oil, ghee,
Yeah.
you would think is inflammatory, but actually no, it's something special about ghee. Is there anything you can say about ghee?
Yeah.
Um,
Ghee is not for vegans. Obviously, people who have vegan lifestyle, they cannot have ghee because it comes from cows. But ghee is one of the best fats that you can have, that your body can have, and you don't have to have buckets of it. You just need small amounts to cook your food in it.
mm,
It gets assimilated through your cells very easily, and that is how it functions really well. It's a cooling fat, right?
mm,
All the oils, they are warming by nature.
mm,
Okay. So if you already are a warm person, or you have oily skin, say for example, and then you're having a lot of oil cooking, eating internally, that is going to cause a lot of heat in your system. All
yeah.
oils are heating by nature, apart from few only, like coconut oil, which is a little bit cooling. But ghee is cooling. It's a cooling fat.
Mm,
Yeah. And if you are having the right amount, it does not add to the weight or to the cholesterol. So it's a healthy fat. So that's what I can say. I mean, in Ayurveda, we use ghee a lot because we make medicines with ghee. In fertility, I recommend ghee a lot because it is milk and all milk made products. And ghee is good for fertility for men and women.
right.
So ghee is revered. And of course, it is, in Ayurveda, whenever they use something like that, which comes from animals, they used to pray before.
Mm,
They would say thank you to the animal from where the food and all these items are coming from,
mm.
and then they would use it in very small amounts.
So Bobby asked the question: what about aluminium, copper, and stainless steel saucepans? I mean, I'm not a fan of, by the way, Teflon coated stuff. I
No,
avoid that
no
like the
Teflon
plague.
coated. You don't
No.
want Teflon coating.
Okay, so do you want to say why you don't have Teflon coating pans?
Oh, Teflon coating is it has been linked to its plastic coating. It's going into your bloodstream, not just your bloodstream. It is going into aquatic life. Yeah. So the fish and everything, if you eat, it's going into their bloodstream as well. So it is going into the whole food chain, and it's cancerous. It does not disintegrate in the tiny molecules. There has been a long court case that has been going on regarding the Teflon coatings, and I'm still baffled and appalled. Why is this still being made? It's such a bad product.
And,
Um,
and so one thing for people to understand, we're gonna talk about the aluminium, copper, and stainless steel in a minute. One thing for people to understand is this: and you don't have to be a biologist to understand this, but you need to have some awareness, which is this: at the cellular level, you have the membrane, the skin of the cell, and everything inside the organelles, the mitochondria, energy factory, the
yeah,
DNA, and so on. At the skin level, consider that as a communication channel where things come in and come out. This is fundamental to understanding health. So important. These channels are of different sizes. And when these channels are fully operational, then you're going to be in a good, healthy state. When they're blocked, that means nutrients don't go in and you're going to have problems with oxygen going in. And so, cancer, one of the conditions for cancer is this heavy metal toxicity or just toxicity for
yeah,
round, like the channels blocked up. Um, fermenting, the mitochondria go through fermentation instead of the normal metabolism to
Yeah.
produce energy. As a result, those cells are much more prone to becoming cancerous. So anything that you eat or any utensils you use, which are going to block those channels,
Yeah.
is going to open a very dangerous pathway for yourself. So do you want to say anything about aluminium, copper, and stainless steel?
Yeah.
Aluminium is another one I avoid. I don't know what your thoughts are, because a lot of
Yeah.
Asians use aluminium pans.
They do use it, but we should avoid aluminium or no aluminium pans, because aluminium leaches into the food, and it is linked with dementia and a lot of nervous conditions. Copper is good, but copper does get oxidized very quickly, so it's very difficult to keep those pans and pots. I think the best option is heavy bottom stainless steel
Yeah.
is one of the best option for us. So don't buy the ones which is very thin steel, because then the food burns really quickly. So you want to buy the really heavy ones, or even those, what are those ones called? The English ones with the really heavy pots and pans.
Yeah.
I
So
can't
neither,
remember the
no, no,
name
no,
now.
not neither of us are English, so it's very difficult for us to understand. But I think you get the picture. And you mentioned a very important element, which is burning of foods. When people grill foods, they barbecue, those
Yeah.
burns, it's carbon. That carbon, that's not good for you. That
No.
is, and any thoughts on that as well for yourself about burnt
Yeah,
food?
as you said, barbecued food, too much barbecued food is, again, it's not good for your system to keep eating too much barbecued food. Or doesn't matter how healthy the food is. And even otherwise, cooking needs to be done on a gentle heat.
Mm,
Anything which cooks on real high heat all the time. Certain foods, of course, when you're baking and making all these pies and everything, it needs that high heat. But even with that, remember pie, for example, cottage pies or shepherd pies take about an hour to make, which is
mm,
long time, and it's cooked better if the heat is much less, right?
mm,
So we need to do the same, and it happens when you have pots and pans which are thick,
mm.
also that they will retain that heat for much longer, because we are in a cold country and we want
Yeah,
to keep the food warm for much longer. And other thing that I will say is eat warm food,
right,
cooked warm food.
right.
It's good for our
Okay.
gut.
So why warm food and not, like, say, a lot of people are going to be into raw food, raw cooking, as you know, especially in London, you see a lot of that. So
Yes.
well, why not raw food? What's wrong with raw food?
Yeah, contentious topic. You can have raw food, but it takes a lot more for your gut to digest it. You need lot many more spices, and you need to be very aware, because I've seen it, the side effects of raw foods. If it is not balanced, it gives a lot of bloating. There are constipation issues, and of course, it goes with your constitution, your personality. If you are a Vata personality like you are, so if you were to eat cold food all the time, which is what raw food is, uh, it will start to have an impact on your gut, in the sense you'll have bloating, constipation, cramps. Whereas that little bit of cooked food is better for you. So you can mix and match, have
Hmm.
one meal cooked and then one meal which is more salad or other
But
things.
you won't cook salads or anything like that. I mean,
No, no, no.
it's very important. I think the trick is take the moderate middle ground.
Yeah.
Cast iron is what Lorraine's saying. Thank you, Lorraine. She's on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Cast iron. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Lorraine. So it's taking the middle ground, because there's a whole bunch of people who are massively vegan for whatever reason, compassionate or health reasons. Other
Yeah.
people, there's people on the extreme end, total carnivore, and we're not knocking anyone's belief, but I think the majority of the planet are omnivores, and they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And and, and, and again, like, I'm from Sufi background, which is a mystical side as well, and I think we're guided that have food in three portions. Portion A, in your stomach, that is for your food. Portion B is for water. Now, the water you don't drink straight away, you drink half an hour before, half an hour
Yeah.
after. And then portion C or portion 3 empty. In other words, 1/3 empty, 1/3 food, and 1/3 for water. How the heck do you get obese from that? You can't. So
No.
okay, so let's look at some of the symptoms that maybe people aren't aware. We talked about some of the diseases. What are the early telltale signs that people need to pay attention to their gut health?
Which are not obvious or which they
Yeah,
can't relate to.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Lot of things. If you get colds and flus and fevers, for example, one of the things which have become so normalized is that every season children will get 2 or 3 colds. It is normal. I was told by a pediatrician when my kids were little that 2 or 3 is normal to every season. 2 or 3 means 2 or 3 weeks of their winter season is gone into colds and coughs. Yeah, it is not natural. That's not how we should be living. If it is happening to you, one cold, when the season changes, when you go from autumn to winter, little bit of sniffle because body is adjusting to the temperature shift, and that's about it. And if you are not careful and you're still eating cold stuff and drinking cold drinks, you're going to get full blown cold, or maybe what we call the flu or influenza, all those things. But it is only because something is common, it is not natural. So if you're getting a lot of infections, yeah, you're getting a lot of skin bursts, for example, acne, pimples, blackheads, that is also a sign that your detoxification is not good. One of the patients who came to me, she had acne, and I mentioned to her, I said, for next 4 weeks, all we're going to do is stop your sugar, gluten, wheat, sugar. That's, I want you to stop for 4 weeks and come back. And she said, when she phoned me, she said, I've never seen my skin so clear. And she asked me, she said, is there a link between skin and sugar? I said, there is direct link. And you can see it obvious to you. Yeah. So it could be skin, that your skin is not very good. Infections, as I said, if you're getting urine infections of any kind, if you're constipated, yeah, unnecessarily, that you think that you're eating healthy food and but you're constipated. If you're getting loose motions, you get the cramp, you eat food, you get a cramp, you get a loose motion. Yeah, it something is not correct in your
now,
gut.
do you want to say a bit more loose motion? You're talking about going to the toilet, right? Yeah.
What else is a loose motion,
I don't
Harun?
know. I've not heard that term before. Loose motion. That means when you go for a poo. And number 2, for those of you who want to be polite about it.
Yes, loose poo. So
Okay.
loose stools.
Yeah.
Yes, and loose stools is, there is also a range of loose stools. It's something which is very very diarrhea, very very loose, something which is semi loose. So yeah, but if it is happening more than often for you, then that means your gut is compromised. Um, Also, as I said, immunity of any kind, if you're not able to your constitution is weak, you get any kind of infection. You go to toilet outside and you get urine infection. Some people get it almost straight away. So all those signs, and then there are those which we will not know unless we are really testing and we are really doing histology and pathology lab tests and all of that. We will not see those changes.
And I think people have to be aware of this, that when you go to, say, Dr. Ashish, who is an Ayurvedic doctor, which encompasses a lot more than meets the eye. It's not just the medicine, it's your also yoga practice, meditation, etc. Or you've come to someone like me, functional medicine background, as well as working with childhood trauma, and so on. We won't give you recommendations or suggestions because we want to know your full history. When someone comes to me, I would spend at least 2 hours in the first session asking everything I need to know.
Yeah.
Because think about it, if you're in the UK, I don't know what it's like in the other countries, but if you're in the UK, I've got a lot of people, clients with diabetes. One of the biggest signs of relief when they come to me is they say, this is the first time someone's even listened to me. When they visited a doctor, traditional doctor, that is their GP, they'll be with them between 5 and 7 minutes. And
Yeah.
so if you have what you've got to look for is patterns.
Yeah.
Are you getting a patterns of, say, for example, constant gas or constant this? Now, the trick is to recognize there's a pattern, not say, oh, I always get gas if I eat onions. You got to find out why. So Lorraine asked, actually, speaking of gas, I'm not saying Lorraine's asking about the question of gas. What causes a gassy gut, and what's the remedy? And that's part of the remedy. We can only give you a part. So do you want to say, Ashish?
Gassy gut.
Gassy gut.
Yeah, that is a microbe issue. So microbiome issue, which means either the gut was compromised at some point in your life, and because of which the balance is not right, or the balance is not right because you're not eating the foods according to your constitution. Yeah. So you need to eat food according to how you are as a person. So which we call the personality. Yeah. And then if you're, say, for example, if you're a very hot person, yeah, you always sweat a lot, if you even with a little bit of exercise, or you flush out, your cheeks get red, then you need to eat cooling foods which give you cooling. Yeah.
Such as foods such as
lots of fruit, which is full of water, which will cool you down. Yeah. Less spices, less chilies. So you need to know what foods are good for your gut and what are not, and then you balance that microbiome in your gut. When the microbiome is not balanced, that is when we get this bloating and gas issue. And this bloating and gas issue also becomes more severe in the sense that it will be very smelly as well if the health is not good. Also, if there is leaky gut of some kind. Yeah. So what can be done? We need to find out what is your body type, which foods are good for you, and then you need to eat those foods. I was listening to other scientific explanations on this, and this is something which will take you maybe at least from year to 2 years of eating the proper food, right food for you, for your gut to be balanced. Yeah. And gut balance is also dependent on the seasonal foods.
Yes.
Because seasonal foods come with those microbes.
Yeah, to support you. That's absolutely amazing. So Lorraine's just clarifying gassy gut from following a gastric flu.
Okay. Yeah. So for that, you need flu remedies. You need herbs, which we give. One thing that you can use, but be careful with that, is garlic. Garlic is antiviral medicine, which we use a lot. You can also use it and mix it in oil and rub it on the palms of your feet. And you can cook with garlic. So garlic helps to get that gastric viral load out of your system. But remember, viruses are very, very tedious. It takes a long time for virus to come out of your body. Viruses basically stays inside you. All they're looking for is an opportunity. So yeah, so cleansing, you probably also need some kind of detoxification.
Yeah, so we'll come on to detox. I want to give an analogy, a couple of analogies actually. So
yeah,
I used to compete in martial arts for many, many years. Started in '84, competition started in '86. And as we got experience, I eventually became British champion, and it became easier. I actually got very bored at the British Championship because it was like everything that the opponent was doing, and it's always different opponents, became predictable. And so here's what happens. Say you're standing like this and you stay in one stance and you're jumping up and down, moving around, but you're in this one posture. The opponent, what they do is they change their stance, that they move one foot forward, the other one back. In that moment, when they're changing stance, they are totally out of balance. And that's when you strike. That's when you land your point.
Right.
And that's how you win the fight. Viruses operate like that.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, when it's not changing stance, it's actually what's going on in your gut. So if you're eating, and this is so important, and you know what? I have an allotment. In fact, I have two allotments plus a garden, and we'll come back to that another time or in a bit. But in if you eat, oh, you have a bird in the background. If you, the best way, I mean, people talk about organic food, and I think this is the biggest BS going. Here's why. Mainstream manufacturing, etc., the media, etc., they're selling things as normal. They call it normal: herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, all of them, by the way, destroying your gut biome, just to let you know.
Yeah.
And they call organic those things, and they're only partially organic in the shops anyway, those things that they haven't sprayed fungicides and pesticides with. And Soil Association certified organic foods are pretty good. So yesterday, we put out some potatoes, early red potatoes, they're small. If you ever eat potatoes from the supermarket and then you ate the potatoes I pulled out yesterday, you would say, what the heck am I doing buying this stuff?
Yeah.
Because it was buttery, it was full of nutrition. And so it's so important that you eat nutrient dense. If you can grow your own food, by the way, please do so. Even if it's just herbs like coriander or something.
Yeah.
But if you, worst case scenario, buy organic food. Seriously, when you buy organic food, people say, oh, it's expensive. Well, here's what happens. Imagine I've got 5 or 6 potatoes, maybe, a fistful of potatoes, 2 fistful of potatoes, normal food. By having organic, I probably need half or a third of those potatoes because my body says, yeah, I've had enough. You don't need to eat as much. And so our body emulates Mother Nature.
Yeah.
A lot of farmers, they focus on, and gardeners will focus on trying to make the plant strong. But Mother Nature doesn't do that. Plants which are weak will be attacked by bugs, slugs, and all sorts. So what we do is we look after the soil bacteria, the soil microbes, and we give foods that will feed them. By doing that, the plants are taken care of. Here's what they found, and I've got to dig up the study and maybe another time, but they found that the soil microbe is very similar to the gut microbe. The gut microbe, and the brain has its own blood-brain barrier. It also has a microbiota ecosystem, which is similar to the soil as well as the gut. So what we're saying is honor what goes inside of here. And if that thing, I don't care what anybody says, I love my chips on my cereal. Really, wake up and smell the coffee, which is this, that in Mother Nature, if you were to follow, and nobody can, I've lived in a city and I live in a village, everybody makes excuses, but the truth is, unless you look after what goes in here, you are going to make yourself vulnerable, just like the guys I used to do kickboxing with. They made themselves vulnerable because they're stepping out of line. So if what you're putting inside yourself is stepping out of line, so you're going to make yourself vulnerable. So let's talk about detoxing. So I'm sure many people are probably aware of detoxification.
Yeah.
First of all, what is detoxification as far as you're concerned?
Right. So body detoxifies a few various channels. One is via kidneys, via liver, via the skin, via the sweat. It also detoxifies via the breath, through the breath exchange at the level of lungs as well. So body is naturally detoxifying at all the steps, and it's very good at it. That's why we are still alive. However, when the toxic load becomes too much, then body cannot detoxify as much. So if it is competent at 100%, it might be reduced to 50 or even less. And we know that, the food chain and the water supply, they're all inundated with all these chemicals that are there, even with organic foods. So detoxification is crucial from time to time. Ayurveda recommends once a year in spring you should detoxify. You don't have to do anything extensive, but if you keep repeating it every year, then it has a cumulative effect on your body. So detoxification, definitely one should do.
And just to understand the seriousness of detoxification means removing the toxins from your body. What are toxins? Toxins are coming in through your environment. So you breathe
Mm.
out toxins, but you also breathe it in. So
Yeah.
the air that you breathe, I'm very lucky that I live in the countryside. One of the most toxic areas, and it's not just there, Oxford Circus. In fact, that's where we met last a couple of meetings ago. Um, Known to be the most environmentally polluted
Yeah.
parts of the whole of the United Kingdom. So what you're breathing in, what you're drinking, what you're eating. Also, though, how you're thinking.
Hmm.
If you're somebody who's constantly a worrier, somebody who's constantly anxious, then you're going to set yourself up in survival mode. When
Yeah.
you're in survival mode, your gut does not operate fully. Now, I think most people know, like, say, for example, you're going to go on stage or you're going to have an interview and you get butterflies in your stomach. That's your stomach cramping up and saying, hey, I'm closing down now. So if you've eaten just before your interview or your presentation, not a good idea. Because and so you'll have your butterflies in your stomach or cramping, and that's because your blood and your energy is all being sent to your limbs, fight or flight or freeze. And
Yeah.
so we're not designed to be in fight or flight mode 24 hours a day, but
Yeah.
yet our brains, the way we perceive things in our waking hours, we're from the moment we're awake to the moment we sleep, we put ourselves in high alert mode. And as a result of this high alert mode, it means your body is accumulating toxins and not able to excrete them.
Yeah.
Because remember, you're trying to run away from the Bengal tiger. I've not been chased by one. I'm Bengali, but I've not been chased by one. Not last week, anyway. In the last 7 days. So, but your body doesn't need to detoxify in that moment. However, if you're chased by a Bengal tiger, that's not a problem. How many of you get chased by a Bengal tiger? Yes, there are those people who are under true threat of their life, literally
Yeah.
in at war. So, what are the other things that we do? The other thing is, of course, toxins is, I can't remember the exact numbers, and again, forgive me for this, but the amount of toxicity levels a pregnant mother has is incredible.
Yeah.
What are the effects of a child being in the womb of a mother with so much toxins, Ashish?
That's a big issue, and we know that a lot of studies that are being done on children who, being born in the last 10, 15 years and how their health is being impacted. I know so many South Asian kids in the family and patients as well who are, who have atopic eczema, atopic tendencies, allergies, which is so much more common than what it used to be. And other conditions, low immunity, colds and coughs, for example, bloating, gas, which is so common. People think that, it happens to all the kids. My kids never had bloating,
Mm,
or they never had needed any colic remedy. Yeah. But it comes from all the foods that moms are having, which is why I promote natural medicine for fertility, because doesn't matter what kind of conception method you're using, natural or IVF or IUI or whatever else. If you're using some natural thing with it, herbs and therapies, you are cutting down that load much less. You are helping your body to get rid of some of it. Some you can't. And the fact that it then doesn't affect the baby as much, because these are the future human beings that we are producing,
mm.
and their health is affected, because we are not affecting the health only for us. Yeah, our genes are affecting the health for 10 generations down the line.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
So
so go
yeah.
ahead.
No, so for that reason, because we what we don't understand is that we are not living in vacuum. We are not just on our own. Yeah, I think, okay, I can eat whatever I want. I don't care whatever happens to my kids. But you are also getting the effect of what your parents, grandparents, what they ate. And now whatever you're going to do is going to impact many generations down the line, especially if you have very extreme kind of lifestyle of any kind, whether it's extreme vegetarian, extreme vegan, extreme meat eating, all of that will have an impact. So we need to, yeah, we need to reduce that. That is why natural is the key.
And you know, in this day and age, we've been raised to think, okay, breakfast, the food of champions, or something like that. And then I remember growing up, because I was skinny and so on, and people would say, I'd be told, the advisors would say, eat 6 times a day, which is like, my God, you're constantly eating. And oh my goodness. So Muslim background, and I was watching, I visited my parents and visited their local mosque there. And this is during Ramadan, where they're fasting all day, basically. The fasting was approximately, I don't know, about 18, 19, 20 hours. Fasting is one of the best things you can ever do, because what you're doing is you're creating the space for your organs to heal. You're also detoxifying at another level. It's absolutely beautiful. But these guys were buying donuts to break their fast. Donuts, Krispy Kremes. It's like, if there is, and if there is, and we're not anti-sugar, we just say don't have it. Sugar is probably one of the number one enemy of human beings, right? It's empty calories, which gives you a high, you come down in a low, and then sets you up for numerous health diseases, not just diabetes, like cancer needs a sugary environment.
Yeah.
Prostate cancer, mental health issues, the whole bunch. So we will touch upon so many topics because there's absolutely no way we can cover everything. So let's start wrapping up and just sharing perhaps a handful of ideas and tips that people can do no matter what their background and knowledge straight away. So you mentioned earlier on about there's a specific eating time. Is this or not? Are there specific times that people should eat, rather than should not?
Yeah, I have few things with for that. People who are trying to manage their weight, if they can cut down their dinner, no dinner, they can have breakfast and they can have lunch, and lunch also has to be before 3 o'clock. So after 2:33, that's not lunch. And then later, no eating. If you can maintain that lifestyle, you will eventually get rid of that body weight that you're trying to manage. Yeah. And you will never, or if you don't have any weight but you want to maintain it, you will never put on weight with this lifestyle. You can eat as much as you want for breakfast and lunch.
By the way, there's interesting that a friend of mine who is 5'6", slightly older than me, and he's 26 stones. I don't know how many that is in kilos, but 26 stones in weight. He's a very heavy guy. And he's tried all the diets. He's tried all sorts, juicing diet, water diet, you name it. It'll bore the life out of you.
Yeah.
And so I recommended what you've just said. But I just said, okay, time restricted eating. You can eat. I said to him, you can eat at this time, once a day, no snacks, no nothing.
Yeah.
And drink lots of water, lots of herbal tea, that kind of stuff. And I didn't think he'd be able to do it, to be honest. And I was shocked that he did. So we were together for about 8 or 9 days. He lost 1 pound a day, and we weren't even weight watching, or he wasn't. And I told him not to, just get used to eating this lifestyle. It's about lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
In the space, because he continued this, not every day, but he continued this 2 days in a row, 2 days off, that kind of thing. In the space of 60 days, he lost 60 pounds in weight.
Yeah.
14 pounds makes a stone. That's thank you, Bobby. I knew someone's going to find out a kilo. 165 kilogram is 26 stone. So in 60 days,
yeah,
it continued. But I want to emphasize this, which a lot of people don't even know about, which is this. Your fat cells produce something called leptin. Leptin's a hormone, a neurotransmitter, which tells your body if you're starving. Because there's sometimes, when you get so into your work, in the flow of things, that you don't even know you're hungry, well, you're not really starving. So for leptin mechanism, it basically tells the brain, the fat cells produce it, say, hey, I'm hungry, you need to feed
Yeah.
me. It also goes the opposite direction and tells the brain, I'm full. Now, here's the problem though. If your fat cells are constantly producing leptin, the brain goes, yeah, I'm not going to listen to you. You develop something called leptin resistance, which
Right.
means even when you're full, the brain doesn't believe it. And so you will eat. You'll eat and eat and eat, and you'll continue eating. And so a lot of people start feeling ashamed, and other people fat shaming them. It won't work. Shaming them only makes them feel crap about themselves, and it does not help.
Yeah.
It's not about willpower. Please keep this in mind. It's not about willpower. Willpower is saying, I'm going to fight my brain, basically. You're not going to win that fight.
Yeah.
It's about discipline. So she said is, say you start off with 2 meals a day, a breakfast, healthy breakfast,
Yeah.
preferably at least 1 hour after you've woken up, not straight away, because you then
Yes.
give your pancreas time to awaken. And then if you do that up to what time do you say, 3 o'clock or before
3
3 o'clock?
is latest, 2 is wonderful.
Okay.
Between 12 and 2 is the pitta time, is the
Okay.
highest time when the juices
Fire
are.
is burning. Yeah. So
Yeah.
pitta time is, that means your food will get digested really well. I'm really glad I've heard that. So then that gives you, let's say you finish eating at 3 for argument's sake, and you don't eat again until following day, let's call it 8 o'clock because you woke up at 6.
Yeah.
That's like, how many hours is that? 3 in the morning is 12 hours, 8 to 5. You've done 17 hours
Fast.
of fasting. And that is absolutely amazing.
Yep.
So okay, so time restricted eating, so eat at certain times. Any other quick tips? And we will go into other, like future episodes into this a lot more detail. Any other quick tips at all?
Other quick tip is it's this lifestyle specifically if you're trying to maintain your weight forever. Other thing is eating on time. Yeah. So whatever you want to make habit of, if breakfast and lunch doesn't suit you and you want to eat more in the evening around 6-7 o'clock, people do intermittent fasting from that point as well. Doesn't matter. It has to be consistent for about a year to 2 years to really get it as part of your living style. Yeah. But if you're eating at the right time, okay, so at that time you can have even the worst food, your body will still digest it. But if you are eating at the wrong time, for example, sugary foods or carbohydrate foods, a lot of potatoes, a lot of pasta late at night, right, after 8 or 9 o'clock, and then you are not mobile, you're sitting on sofa sleeping, that is going to sit in your system and is going to affect the whole thing, not just only the weight, but the hormones, the sugar levels, and everything else, and your sleep as well. You will not be sleeping very well. So eat on time, right time. Either you make lunch as your main meal, or if you are not having lunch, you want to make dinner as your main meal. But don't do it as a 2 months, 3 months, even 6 months thing. It doesn't work. Eventually it only works when it is part of a long term strategy. Okay. And other thing that you mentioned about this feeling full. Yeah. uh, and you also mentioned leaving one part for the food to swell up, and I have grown up with that idea, right? Like my mom used to say to me, okay, if you want to eat 2 chapatis, eat one and a half, because you need some space for it to get mixed with the juices and everything. Whereas when I came here in this country, my husband, the way he ate was up until he was full up to here. Yeah, because they loved food. So, and there was a lot of food. And his mom is a great cook. So he would eat and then he'll say, now I'm feeling uncomfortable. I said, why can you not stop before? But he just couldn't, because it is how he was taught.
It's about
And
lifestyle. Yeah.
it's a lifestyle and it's a habit that you learn as a kid. Okay. And then it is very hard. You need to know when you are full. And there are so many people who do not know this when they're full. And then it becomes a lifestyle which you cannot get rid of unless you're very actively doing something for it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's wrap up here because I know both of us are very active. Is there any one last message
I
you
have
want
a
to share?
patient.
Yeah, you got a patient. Okay, brilliant. So any last thing you say, or you're good?
Last thing would I say, your gut is the thing. It has got so many different organs, and it everything starts from your gut. Okay, every single disease starts from your gut.
Brilliant.
So
Okay.
treat it well. Yeah.
Okay, so I really honor thy gut,
Mhm.
and again, this is just a snippet now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Harun Rabbani podcast, and we are talking about natural medicine, of course, natural way to get healthy, then please make sure you like, you subscribe, you share, because you never know whose life you'll be touching. And there are so many illnesses that can be transformed by simply because they've heard of a simple idea, just the simple concept of eating at a different time. The other simple concept of it's about your lifestyle choice. The other simple thing about just waking up at the right time. The other, we covered quite a few things, but for some people, their life, their health is at risk, severe risk. And you, rather than wait till you go and see the medical doctor, which is fine, it's far better to prevent. Prevention is better than cure. And feel free, if you have any particular topics you want us to cover regarding natural medicine, make sure you comment in the section, whether you're watching in LinkedIn or you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Harun Rabbani, and you've been joined by myself and Dr. Ashish Paul. See you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.